أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So, dear students, we have discussed some of the basics regarding the solvents in yesterday's lecture. Let us come to the next point. So, what are these? We have discussed about the types of solvent. Now, let us see what is the solvent. So, solvent is a substance which has power to dissolve the other substances. It has the capacity to dissolve the other substances. Water, it is called as an excellent solvent. Why? Because it has high dielectric constant. Due to high dielectric constant, it is capable of reducing the forces of electrostatic forces of attraction, binding the charged ions. Okay, whatever charged ions are there, they may be separated. The force of electrostatic attraction between them can be decreased by the high dielectric by using the solvent with high dielectric constant. So, being an excellent solvent, it has high dielectric constant. It has high polarity. Therefore, it has ability to reduce the electrostatic attraction, forces of attraction between the charged ions in electrolytes in the solid state. Whatever we have put the solid compound in the water, therefore charges get separated due to the high dielectric constant solvent. The salts and other electrolytes gets separated into ions when they dissolve in water, and the solution therefore it conducts electricity. Thus salts and other whatever electrolytes are there, they get dissociated, they get separated into ions. If salt is there, suppose NaCl is there, then it will separate into Na plus and Cl minus, and thus ions are formed in the solution. Therefore, this solution it has capacity to conduct the electricity. Now, water has a long liquid range. It exists in the liquid range, liquid state, from temperature 0 centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade. Boiling point is 100 degrees centigrade. Okay, below 0 degrees centigrade, it will undergo the formation of ice. Water will change into ice. Okay, and at 100 degrees, it will change into vapors. So, water has a long liquid range from 0 to 100 degrees. Therefore, this liquid, it is liquid at ordinary temperature. At room temperature, it is liquid. Therefore, it is most easily available and easily purified. It is easily available and easily, it is very easy to purify it. It is neutral. It is not reactive. It is neutral. Odorless, without any smell. Odor means a smell. Non-toxic. It does not have any toxic effect, any harmful effect on skin, etc. And non-poisonous. These are the merits. These are the advantages related with water. It has a long liquid range from 0 to 100. Liquid at ordinary temperature, most easily available in large amount, and easily purified. By distillation process, you can easily purify it. It is neutral. It only dissolves the substances. It does not react with them. It is odorless. It does not have characteristic smell as such. Non-toxic. Does not cause any harm to the body or skin. Okay, and non-poisonous. It is not poisonous. Therefore, it can be handled safely. It is easily for handling. Due to all these characteristics, water serves as the most useful solvent. Taking into consideration all these advantages, it is used as a universal solvent. We call as water is a universal solvent. Now, attempts they have been made to find out some other common substances which could serve as a good solvents like water. Attempts have been made, attempts are made to find out such type of substances which can serve like water and also has a sizable dielectric constant and high dielectric constant, so that it can have high ionizing capacities just like water. Okay, now some of the solvents which are there: anhydrous liquid ammonia. Anhydrous means without water, without water more. Anhydrous means without water. Liquid sulfur dioxide, anhydrous hydrogen fluoride, liquid dinitrogen tetroxide, and other solvents. Out of this, our study will be focused on anhydrous liquid ammonia or liquid ammonia and liquid sulfur dioxide. Okay. Now, characteristic properties of solvent. What are the characteristic properties of solvent? Now, some characteristic physical and chemical properties solvent which make it useful as a solvent are given below. What are those characteristics? The melting point and boiling point of a solvent indicate the range of temperature over which it can exist in liquid state under atmospheric pressure. Just like we have seen, water it exists in the liquid range from 0 to 100 degrees centigrade. From 0 to 100 degrees centigrade. So melting point and boiling points of a solvent indicates, they suggest the range of temperature over which it can exist in liquid state under atmospheric pressure. The melting point and boiling points of various solvents along with their critical temperatures and critical pressures are given here. Okay, water 0 to 100, critical temperature 374, here critical pressure in atmospheres 217. This is liquid ammonia, melting point 77.7, boiling point minus 33.5. Critical temperature, all this. Sulfur dioxide, okay. So, because of the above values, water exists as a liquid at ordinary temperature and pressure, whereas other liquids like ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and dinitrogen tetroxide exist as gases under these conditions. At normal temperature, they exist in the gaseous condition. Therefore, gases act as solvent at low temperature. Okay, so they will act as a solvent at low temperature because at ordinary temperature, what is the boiling point? Melting point minus 77.7. Melting point, this is the boiling point. Means at ordinary temperature, they will exist in gaseous state. Therefore, they act as a solvent at only low temperature. Okay. What does it mean? Melting point is 77.7. Means at 0 degrees centigrade at higher temperature, it will be existing in gaseous state. Okay. Boiling point, etc. What does it mean? This temperature are below the temperature of fridge, our ordinary fridge. It has temperature 0. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the lower temperatures. Now, these temperatures they are available in deep fridge. Very deep fridges are available, which store the chemicals or substances below 0 centigrade temperature. So this indicates that this solvent, whatever liquid ammonia, etc., they are gaseous at ordinary temperature, isn't it? So, because of the above values, water exists as a liquid at ordinary temperature and pressure. Ammonia, sulfur dioxide, dinitrogen tetroxide, they exist as gaseous under this condition. Therefore, These gases, they act as solvent only at low temperature. The next point is heat of fusion and heat of vaporization. The heat absorbed by 1 mole of the substance to change from solid to liquid. It is known as molar heat of fusion. Fusion means melting. Fusion means melting. Fused state, molten state, melted state. Okay. The heat absorbed by 1 mole of a substance to change from solid to liquid. It is called as a molar heat of fusion. Likewise, heat absorbed by 1 molecule of substance to change from liquid to vapor. It is called as a molar heat of vaporization. Molar heat of fusion means from solid to temperature, which is required heat absorbed by 1 molecule of substance, 1 mole of the substance to change from solid to liquid. That will be called as heat of fusion. Now, heat of vaporization means vapor state. How you will get vapor state? From liquid to vapor. Okay, from liquid to vapor. So this amount of heat, whatever required, it is called as heat of vaporization. These constants of for water, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen fluoride are given below the table. These are the molar heats of fusion and vaporization of the sum of the solvents. Water 6.02 molar heat of fusion, molar heat of vaporization 40.65. Okay, ammonia 5.65, 23.34, and so on. The heat of fusion and vaporization indicate the nature and the strength of forces with which the molecule of the solvent they are held together in a solid or liquid state. Okay. Heat of fusion or vaporization, what does it indicate? It indicates the nature and the strength, strongness by which molecule of solvent they are held together in solid or liquid state. How they are binded together, whether they are joined, linked by what we call weak force or a strong force. It will be indicated by the heat of fusion and heat of vaporization. Now, a high heat of vaporization of liquid indicates that intermolecular binding forces in it are strong. If heat of vaporization is high, what does it indicate? It indicates that intermolecular binding forces in it are strong. Means molecules they are binded with the help of strong intermolecular forces. Whatever forces they are existing between the molecules, between the same molecules, it is called as the intermolecular bonding. Okay. So whatever liquid is there, it is, if it is having high heat of vaporization, this will indicate that intermolecular binding forces are strong. Means molecules they are bonded strongly with each other. Okay. A better idea for the intermolecular binding forces is obtained by dividing the heat of vaporization by the boiling point. Good idea, it is obtained by this, by dividing the heat of vaporization by the boiling point. For normal liquids, the ratio of heat of vaporization is expressed in joules to the boiling point, is a constant. This constant is known as Proton's constant. This constant is about 90 kilojoules . 90 joules kilo inverse mole inverse. Okay, for normal liquids. This is the value for normal liquids. Such liquids, they have single molecules without any bonds between them. The higher value of the constant indicates that association of molecules. Molecules, they are associated strongly. The molecules of liquids which undergo association are polar. Which molecules will undergo association? Association means they are attached to each other. Okay, the molecules of liquid which undergo association are polar. If molecule is polar, if it is having charges, then such type molecules, they will definitely associate, they will be attached to each other, they are linked to each other. The common solvents like water, ammonia, hydrogen fluoride and alcohols, these are all associated liquids. Okay, because they are polar liquids. What is the polar? Ammonia it is polar, hydrogen fluoride H plus F minus, alcohol it is also polar, RO minus and H plus. So type of polarity is there. So heat of fusion for water and ammonia are nearly the same. Heat of fusion for water and ammonia are nearly the same. This indicates that the forces which hold molecules together in water and ammonia are of the same magnitude. They are of the same value. Whatever forces that hold molecules together in water and ammonia, they are of the same value. The heat of fusion of sulfur dioxide is comparatively high, while hydrogen fluoride is comparatively low, indicating that force holding SO2 molecules together is stronger. Okay, the heat of fusion for sulfur dioxide is high. What does it indicate? It indicates that force binding SO2 molecules is stronger. The force holding HF molecule is weaker. Why weaker? Here heat of fusion is low. Okay. Now come to the next terminology, dielectric constant. So what does it indicate? Dielectric constant. So if there are polar molecule, if it is a polar Q1, Q2, so type of ions, cations, anions are there, charged bodies are there, then the Coulombic force F between cation and anion, it is indicated by the expression. This is the expression. Okay, where Q1 and Q2 are the charges for cation and anion. These are the charges for cations. R1, R2 are the distances, radii of the two ions, radius of the two ions, these ions. And D is the dielectric constant. What is the importance of this dielectric constant? A high value of D indicates small amount of energy will be required to separate the ions. Hence, it will be easy to dissolve an ionic solute. Okay, what does it indicate? High value of dielectric constant indicates that small amount of energy is required to separate the ions. Hence, it is easy to dissolve an ionic solute. Thus, dielectric constant in general, what does it determine? It determines the ability of solvent to dissolve ionic compounds. For example, solvent like anhydrous hydrogen fluoride, water, they have high dielectric constant. So they are best solvents for ionic and polar compounds. Okay. Solvents like hydrogen fluoride, we take only water, suppose. These are the solvents with high dielectric constant value. Therefore, these solvents are best for ionic and polar compounds. On the other hand, solvents like liquid ammonia and liquid sulfur dioxide, they have low dielectric constant. It shows that they have decreased ability, low ability to dissolve ionic substances, ionic compounds, especially those containing multi-charge ions, many charge ions. Okay, the solvent like liquid ammonia and liquid sulfur dioxide with low dielectric constant, so they have less ability to dissolve ionic compounds containing multi-charge ions, many charged ions. Okay, thus carbonates, sulfates and phosphates are practically insoluble in liquid ammonia and liquid sulfur dioxide. These carbonates, sulfates, phosphate, what are these ions? These are multi-charged ions. Carbonate CO3 double minus, sulfate double minus, phosphate double minus. So these are multi-charged ions. Therefore, these ions, they are practically insoluble in liquid ammonia and sulfur dioxide. Okay. So in short, the dielectric constant, what does it indicate? It indicates the polarity of the solvent. Dielectric constant and the polarity of the solvent, they are closely related with each other. An ionizing solvent not only has a large dipole moment, but also has a dielectric constant. If a solvent is ionizing, then it will have a high value of dipole moment and high value of dielectric constant. Okay. So this is indicated by the this table. Water dipole moment 1.85, high value of dielectric constant. Here in case of ammonia 22, 17.4, 83.6, 2.40. Okay. Some important value of some important non-aqueous solvents are described below. So consider this is the liquid ammonia. Liquid ammonia is one of the most extensively, largely studied non-aqueous solvent. Okay, it is a largely studied non-aqueous solvent. Solvent other than water, they are called as non-aqueous solvent. It is a protonic solvent having proton in it. Its water-like properties have made it highly useful. We have seen it has properties similar to water. Therefore, being similar to water, it has made it highly useful solvent and a reaction medium for carrying out several types of organic and inorganic reactions. Okay. However, the extent of ionization of liquid ammonia is less as compared to water. Out of ionization, whatever is there, dielectric constant is less as compared to water. We have seen here. Dielectric constant is less as compared to this water. So ionizing power will be definitely less as compared to the water. So ammonia can therefore conduct electricity only to feeble extent, to less extent. Ionizing power is less. So dielectric constant is low as compared to the water. Therefore, it will conduct electricity up to less extent. The dielectric constant of liquid ammonia is 22, which is much smaller as compared to that of water. The low dielectric constant results in generally decreased ability of liquid ammonia to dissolve ionic compounds. Dielectric constant is low as compared to water. Therefore, it will have low ability, less ability, or low ability to dissolve ionic compounds. It has, as compared to, if you compare the this capacity to dissolving capacity to that of water, then dissolving capacity is less as compared to water. Now, liquid ammonia is therefore poor solvent for ionic substances. If ionic substances are there, it is a poor solvent. However, the low viscosity of ammonia as compared to that of water is expected to promote greater ionic mobility, therefore compensate to some extent the effect of dielectric constants. But low viscosity of ammonia is low as compared to that of water. Therefore, it is expected to promote greater ionic mobilities, greater ionic shifts, and therefore it can compensate to some extent the effect of dielectric constant. It can, however, cover the effect of dielectric constant. Dielectric constant is, though it is low, but viscosity is good. Low viscosity is somewhat less. Therefore, it is expected that it may have a greater ionic mobility. So this effect can be, we can think that this effect is quite good. It can cover the, up to some extent, the effect of dielectric constant. The physical properties of water and liquid ammonia, these are as below. Now, outer ionization, it will give H plus and OH minus. Now, this H plus and water, they will combine to give hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. Now, similar type of reaction it is observed in case of water. In case of ammonia, H plus NH2 minus. Okay. And this H plus will combine with ammonia, leading to formation of ammonium ion. Two molecules of liquid ammonia will lead to the formation of ammonium ion and amide ion. Okay. So this behavior is somewhat similar to that of water molecule. Now these are the physical properties of water and ammonia. Okay. Viscosity is less as compared to the water. It is less viscous. So being less viscous, we can think that it may have a more, may allow the more mobility of the ions. These are the Protons constants. Okay. Let us stop at this stage and conclude this lecture. In the next lecture, we will continue with the same solvent, that is liquid ammonia. We will go for the next property of liquid ammonia. Okay. Have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum.